Gunshots. It's gunshots.
It's a killer. You should head for the ATM machine.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you were just gonna review ATM.
Yeah.
Just because Brian made me watch it last weekend.
I haven't seen it yet, but I can
that.
review it already.
It's
Fucking run!
Yeah, that's a good sum up for ATM. Just run. Run. There's 3 of you. You could take the man with a crowbar in his hand.
And none of them had a cell phone?
No, they all conveniently left it in the car. So this killer is waiting for 3 people to show up in a goddamn ATM, to which he has to pick the right 3 people to conveniently leave their cell phones in the car.
Wait, and they were all together?
Yeah, the 3, they're all together. They were
Why
coming
did they
from...
all go into the ATM?
Because Josh Peck and his drunk ass needed a ride home, and he wanted to stop by the ATM for reasons.
So the other 2 got out to go in with him?
Yeah, because he's really cheap, and he's sitting
like
there.
One of those like enclosed glass buildings with an ATM inside of it.
Yeah, and like it takes place in Chicago, but it was filmed in Canada, and like he waves them like, oh, come in, and then they go in there because he didn't want to use his own card because he was cheap. So, and then they get closed in by a killer. And the whole time the killer keeps doing stuff in the back of the ATM, like fucking shit up or doing stuff. So many times they all could have just fucking ran. And then at the end, I could talk so long about this stupid fucking movie.
I want to know where in Chicago they were, because...
It was in the middle, it was like an empty parking lot, like in the middle of nowhere. Like seriously, it looked like Petersburg.
Oh. Trying to think of maybe somewhere on the south side, but the police are fucking legion down there.
2 of them end up dying, and then the one kid like gets blamed for everything because the killer knew where he wouldn't be in like point of view of the camera, so he like edits the camera to make it looks like it was the other guy like doing all of this stuff. Trust me, it is as little sense as this is making right now. Try watching it.
Yeah, because like I say, he showed it to me years and years ago, but all I remember was it being stupid and them like just being shut inside like the glass thing and just not leaving because there's a killer out there.
Letty said to Brian, she goes, I think you seriously like this movie. And then Brian goes, no, I just need to show it to other people so they will hate it too.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that. I keep telling you guys you need to go see The Identical.
Well, how we said everyone did, well, Winter's Tale doesn't apply though because that movie is secretly magical.
Yeah, that movie didn't make me mad. It was
Just makes you go, what?
I wish ATM was like that.
If Horrison showed up, he could have rescued all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Smashed the ice in front of the killer.
So that's our review for ATM. Bye.
Okay, so Boyhood.
We just got out of Boyhood.
I think the problem is I've been focusing on the movie Boyhood for the last 3 hours, and so my brain's kind of tired of the movie Boyhood. But I'll suck it up for you guys.
Hey, I got a bonus review of ATM at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
It's a long movie.
It's a very long movie.
It is. I quite enjoyed the movie.
It's a good movie. It's nuanced, and I think that you were saying outside it's character driven, and it really, really is. My issue with it is that since all the characters are very real characters, you end up hating them for some moments of their lives. For me, Ethan Hawke was an extremely unlikable character.
Oh, man.
And you guys were disagreeing with me outside, so
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your point of view first.
I just thought he was funny.
I thought he was
He was
funny and
fun
charming.
dad. He was charming, fun dad. Ethan Hawke's a magical
He was
person.
weekend dad.
Yeah, he's fun
Charming,
weekend
fun
dad.
dad for every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
While the mother did her level best to raise 2 children and got involved in one abusive relationship after another in her quest for financial stability.
Man, there was...
And then at the end, when she's throwing them a graduation party, he's like, let me help you out.
Yeah,
With this party that you've thrown for our children. I got no cash, sorry.
Yeah,
Bye.
that was... Well, no, he said he was going to go get cash because his wife had...
Oh, he had cash out of his wife's purse.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
I mean...
sorry, because he was really likable and charming when he's talking to the kids and like giving them insights, but fucking he's for most of their lives, he's living with his douchebag friend Joey, like
Jimmy.
smoking pot and playing guitar. It's easy to be reasonable and well-rounded when you fucking sang all summer. Meanwhile, she's got to move back in with her mom because she's putting these kids through college. Ugh.
Then he wouldn't be fun weekend dad. He was really only smoking pot with his buddy for about the first half of it, I think.
The first half of
He
it,
grew up.
he did grow up, and he got a really nice minivan. He started a new family, a better family.
Yeah.
Really.
I don't know what your problem is with
And
this guy.
he sold the car that he told his son that his son could have when he turned 16, so he could buy a minivan and drive his new baby around.
To be fair to him, though, he completely forgot about that.
He did. Like, I'm just pretty sure he made that shit up. I mean, really, Kelvin?
He was, I mean, there are moments when he does stuff that's douchey, but I never really thought he was a bad guy, just not maybe the greatest dad
I
in the
just
world.
grew up 20 years too late.
Yeah. And maybe, honestly, I don't even think he was necessarily a terrible dad. He was just, his learning curve was a little slower. Like, once he matured, it seemed like he was actually very invested and cared. It was just the situation of it.
Yeah,
It's kind of too late.
yeah,
No,
but I
not
mean,
necessarily
it didn't make me think he was a bad person. Just, I mean, an immature person, sure, but in his own way and in the areas of life that he was kind of okay on. I mean, he gave fairly sage advice through the movie. I never really at a point disliked that character, especially when the other people you're comparing him to are a couple of drunk, abusive assholes.
Well, I have to say that, like, the only person that actually told that douchebag daughter to stop talking that way to her mother was abusive douchebag number 2.
Fucking abusive.
And that was, like, 2.5 hours into the movie.
Uh-huh. Yeah, abusive douchebag number 2. Once that showed up, I was kind of like, are we really doing the drunk stepfather thing again? But
And that guy wasn't as bad as the first guy.
No, but he was just as annoying. Like, the first guy, I was waiting for it to, I'm like, man, I want this to turn into, like, one of the gritty Ethan Hawke movies, where Ethan Hawke will put a shotgun in this guy's mouth. That shit got intense.
Well, because, like, okay, so the mom's raising these 2 kids, and she's got to go back to school, so she moves to Houston, and she ends up, checking up with her college professor, who has 2 kids of his own that are about her kid's age, and so they start this kind of happy little Brady Bunch family, but as it goes on, he's driving the kids after the honeymoon, and he pulls them to the liquor store. Just in case we have company over for the weekend. He
There's
gets out.
not company.
And his kids are like, he always says that. There's never company.
Yeah,
and so you see the progression of his alcoholism from, like, him hiding the vodka behind, like, the Tide bottle in the laundry room to him plopping down on the dinner table, glass, fucking Maker's
Booze.
Mark.
Ugh, morning
Say
family.
something.
Any minute now, it could have turned into the movie Radio Flyer. You never saw Radio
I thought for
Flyer?
a half second you were going to say radio. I'm like, where the fuck was Cuba Gooding Jr.?
There was a football game in the movie.
Yeah.
Not Radio Flyer. It's about the drunk stepfather. Only at the end of that movie, they make their Radio Flyer wagon fly. And then they fly away, and then it's the end. No, wait, the kid grows up to be Tom Hanks. So it's just like this movie.
So it's like I've seen it. From your
Only
description.
instead of taking 12 years, it probably took 12 days.
But yeah, abusive douchebag number 2, I think that he got shit canned way earlier than the last one did because she was gun shy. Because, like, the last guy was, like, throwing glasses and, like, pushed her ass over in the garage.
Yeah.
And so she ended up having to, like, go to a women's shelter and get an advocate to come over so she can get her kids out of the house. Whereas second douchebag was just, like, sitting on the porch with a beer, like, you're home late, rabble, rabble, rabble. And then that was the last we saw of that character.
You're home late. Ugh. Booze.
Stop mumbling, fucking mumbling all the time.
Wish I was cool, Dad, like Ethan Hawke. No, I like
It could be if you didn't have a house and a mortgage.
See?
Or, kids most of the time.
And when Ethan Hawke pulled up into that car, I thought he was his character from Getaway.
God, no.
Getaway? What am I saying? I didn't see that movie. Wait, I did. Brian showed me half hour of it. That's a bad movie I sent Brian and Irving to last year. I liked how they had to... I was telling Dave about this outside. one of my favorite things about it was how they kind of had to purposefully age Ethan Hawke.
Because he doesn't look any older.
He doesn't look any goddamn
The
older
man's
now.
fucking immortal.
His face is filled out a little, and that's about it.
A
And they made
little,
his
like...
mustache a little more dad-like.
Yeah, they kind of turned him into Ned Flanders in the second half of the movie. They give him, like, dad mustache and, like, kind of comb his hair a little differently. Just, they're like, fuck, we're 7 years into making this movie, and Ethan Hawke hasn't aged a fucking day. Well, let's put some, like, dad makeup on him or something. With Patricia Arquette, though, it was kind of funny, because, like, through a
It's like,
section...
where was she in her career?
Yeah, for a section there was like, oh, this was when Mom was on Medium. She had, like, the bowl, like, cut like she had in Medium, and...
Oh, see, I'm not that attentive to Patricia Arquette's career. I just noticed that she was, like, for a while she was rocking, like the professor hair, where she
Yeah.
kind of looked like Tasha Yar, and then she had, like, the little mom bob cut when she was with abusive douchebag #1.
Yeah,
But
that
I
was-
thought
that was
she
medium
was
time.
aging really, really well, too.
Yeah, Patricia
has
Arquette has aged really well.
Yeah, she, like, rounded out in the lady figure, but, you know, in a good way.
Well, she had several children along the way, too.
Oh, yeah, she looked great. Yeah, I mean, it's... Even if you hate this movie, I mean, it's impossible not to give it some kind of respect in a way, considering what they did, and
No.
considering nothing tragic happened in those 12 years.
To any of those people in the movie, yeah. No, that was...
Oh, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
You had to have known that there
And
was...
suddenly the sun died.
Yeah, you had to have known that, like, there had to have been a plan B somewhere. Like, well, Dad's dead, I guess. It's...
Well, the boys kept doing such dangerous things. I mean, like, the whole thing is supposed to be, like, a realistic portrayal of a boy's progression to manhood. And I know from stories that, you know, part of that involves playing really, really stupid games with your friends. So I
Yeah,
was kind of prepared
Yeah.
for it when they're, like, they broke into an empty house and were playing throw the circle saw blade at the wall by your friend.
Oh,
and
you never...
hold the board in front of your face and fucking punch it.
Well, see, knowing Linklater movies, I was like, okay, nothing really bad's gonna happen on camera.
See, I was terrified. I was watching
Like, everything's gonna be...
Like, oh god, this
everything's
is the
gonna be
part where his
talked
little
about till
friend
you're
dies a
yeah.
tragic death.
No, he's not really a special effects kind of dude. Nothing real bad's gonna happen on camera. If it does happen, it'll be off camera, and they will talk about it until you're fucking sick of it.
You never played Throw the Circular Saw in the old abandoned house?
Nope.
What?
That shit goes right through drywall. I
Oh,
tell you
yeah.
what.
I've heard stories about, like, playing dodgeball with medicine balls. I've heard about, you know,
Those
let's
things
play
hurt.
jump off a bridge. It wasn't really my bag, but, like, it seemed, from at least an outsider's perspective, a pretty accurate depiction of childhood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
for a boy.
like, it didn't get into some, like, really, really heavily awkward stuff. And
Yeah, it kinda
Like,
s-
accidental boners.
It kind of
Yeah.
skipped over puberty.
yeah, it really skips over that. So
But that was
it's
probably
kinda,
because that kid, you know, what? Like, I've never seen that kid in anything else.
not off the top of my head.
So he was probably just embarrassed, like, at the time. Like,
He definitely had the awkward stage when his face was all broke out and he had, like, that weird emo comb over.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looked like he was going bald and they were trying to cover it.
Yeah, I mean, it hit on a certain level of stuff that a lot of us could definitely relate to. You know, doing stupid shit with your friends, underage drinking.
Underage smoking, make out in the
Underage
back of a station
smoking,
wagon, which I
yeah.
do remember.
Before you realize that looking up porn is a personal and very solo effort.
Just all gathered around the laptop.
Yeah.
That's my time.
Well, they even had the bullies, which, you know, that was kind of perfunctorily touched on, but that seemed pretty realistic.
I was never bullied in school.
Yeah, neither was I.
No, I was never bullied in school. I was for a day, and I kicked the guy in the nuts and got suspended for a couple of days, and that was the end of that.
I got bullied in grade school and kicked a guy in the nuts and got sat down by the school nurse and explained patiently why you should not do that to boys. I got bullied in junior high because girls are douchebags in junior high. Which, you know, I wanted to mention again the older sister because she was just a flaming jerk, but, like, in a realistic to teenage girls that didn't grow up well jerkish way, because they kind of mentioned slightly that since she's slightly older than him, she was there and remembered the horrible knockdown, drag-out fights that, you know, her biological parents used to get into before he fucked off to Alaska for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that has a lot to do with why she's so mean to her mom.
Well,
see, I only thought she was really mean to her in the beginning when she was, like, you know, preteen.
She was mean to her preteen, but then even later, every time something horrible happened, she's like, well, now, how does this affect me? Poorly, you say. Well, now,
well,
let's discuss that for a while.
Then fuck all of this.
Mom, you're moving back in with your mother? Where am I going to do my laundry?
I thought that was funny.
She wasn't moving back in with her mom. She was getting an apartment.
She was getting a tiny apartment. I kind of got the impression because they're like, oh, doesn't Grandma's apartment have an attic or something we can store the stuff in?
No, they didn't say anything about Grandma. They said your apartment.
I'm pretty sure they said Grandma's, but she's still moving back into a tiny apartment.
It didn't make me hate her character at all or anything like that. I was sitting there like, hey, well, you know, teenage girl. Hell, even I can relate to, like, well, I guess I'm going over to whoever's place to do laundry or whatever.
Well, that's the thing is, it didn't make me hate her. It was a realistic characterization of a girl who had grown up that way.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's why I couldn't, other than, like, some of the douchebag stepdads, I think that's why in any other movie, the main kid in this movie, I would probably not like his character very much. And I'm not saying I'm necessarily gaga over his character or anything like that, but given what the movie is, given what the movie's
about... you get
about...
enough build-up that you're not like, okay, this is just a douchey teenager. Like, I'll be honest, like, that was, like, I couldn't stand the kid when he was a fucking teenager, but I liked him just fine as a preteen and as a little kid, so it was just like, I hope he grows out of this.
Well, yeah, all teenagers do that. And, you know,
Yeah.
a kid who's grown up rough like he has is going to get a little introspective. That's like the best case scenario. So, you know, he starts going off on diatribes about Facebook and the the NSA. It's like,
Yeah.
however you want to rationalize this, little buddy.
Yeah, and it didn't, because, you know, you're just kind of seeing this kid grow up. I was sitting there like, yeah, okay, well, this is just what this kid's going through at the age of 18. I knew a lot of people like this when I was that age. I know a lot of people like that now, to an extent, you know. I don't know if I was ever necessarily like that when I was younger, but...
You weren't. Trust me, I was there, you weren't.
Yeah, you were a little bit.
I can definitely see that.
You know...
Didn't like the mirror this movie held up to your face, David?
Oh... I never had any pretensions whatsoever about art, though. It's like, nah, I like drawing fucking Batman.
Yeah, and you weren't like a photographer or anything like that. It was more so Nick. But, you know, I mean, we all said shit like this kid was saying if we weren't saying it to each other or to the sky.
Or to Live Journal.
That's what I mean,
yeah.
like, we would say it on Diary X at the time.
When you weren't pranking Nick.
Yeah, we did.
Prank the fuck out of Foster on Diary X.
Well, he was dumb enough to give us his password.
Didn't think we would change it.
No, he tried changing it. Here's the thing. We also knew his email password, so we could do the old forgot my password thing. And then there was somebody who got control of his Diary X account again just to show up me and Dave and be like, you guys are mean, blah, blah, blah. Nick didn't really care. You guys are really, really mean. Now I've changed the password. I'm not giving you the password. I'm like, okay. So I wrote to the guy who ran Diary X and was like, hi, some crazy lady got my password. Can you give it back? I was like, I believe you. Sure. We used to log on there and didn't we used to sign stuff as Buford?
Oh, yeah. Buford, who
Did it
was...
fool him for a second?
No, because we basically
Our
made
version
Buford
of Buford
Dolomite.
was like Dolomite.
It was Dolomite.
And he had a son named Rostus, who was Buford's high school yearbook picture, but dreadlocks and a Rastafarian wig and sunglasses that were all put on in MS fucking Paint.
Yeah, it was MS Paint.
Rastus was always gonna cut a bitch.
Yeah, he really wanted it in for Nick. Like, really, he would have been the worst hitman in the world. It'd be like he's logging into the guy's Diary X to say, like, watch out, bitch.
Love
Oh,
Rastus.
that's amazing. But yeah, no,
I don't know who was more upset about that, Nick or Buford.
Nick was. I don't remember Nick being that upset about it, but I know briefly Buford was, because I remember him being kind of like, what if they think that's me?
No one's gonna think that's you.
But yeah, like, I know from the pretension. I wrote poetry in high school, for God's sakes, you know. So, like, all the pretentious stuff that was coming out of this kid's mouth was believable for a teenager.
Yeah, it was. I think that's why I didn't hate him, considering what the movie was about. This movie was like, it's a 12-year journey of a kid who's 6 years old, and then growing up to be my cousin Lathan.
Fucking yeah. Jesus Christ.
Which Lathan's not a douchebag. He's a really, really cool guy. Let me just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
But dresses a lot like him, looks quite a bit like him.
That kid grew up good looking.
Yeah, and like it really it worked out for Linklater in this regard that the kid's a good actor. Like
Yeah.
that guy, that's
He
another
got
thing.
real fucking lucky on that.
Yeah, boy, that could have gone south.
Or
Like,
Linklater was paying for acting classes the whole time.
I think the kid's been in other things
Probably
over
at this point.
over the 12 years. I mean, hell, maybe something I might have even seen him in. But if there was, hell, maybe it's another Richard
Yeah.
Linklater movie.
Well, the kid, if, you know, as I predict, fucking award season's probably going to go. This kid's got a good solid, at least a couple years ahead, good offers ahead of him.
Yeah, they come awards season. This movie might have a pretty good year.
It's definitely going to get nominated, probably for, I'd say, probably Best
Something.
Picture, probably Best Original Screenplay. I could see
Yeah.
supporting actor for Ethan Hawke, honestly.
I could. Yeah, I could see for maybe Patricia Arquette.
Oh, she broke my heart.
Supporting
I
actress, I
burst
could
out
see that.
crying when she was sitting at that table, and she started crying.
Yeah.
Because her kid was leaving, and she realized that she was exactly the fuck where she started.
Right.
She wasn't exactly where she started.
Well, I mean, like, even that, like, because, I mean, yeah, we're certainly talking about it from the point of the people in the movie who were younger. I could imagine my mom or somebody of that age watching this movie and definitely relating to what the older people
Yeah.
are going through in this movie over that 12 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's primarily about this kid, but there is enough story for the other characters that it's...
Quite a bit.
that there's enough for... I think everybody can find somebody in this movie to relate to at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And if not people, then definitely circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, and... Hang on, I got popcorn in the back of my throat. No, go ahead.
It's okay, I keep sniffling because I was crying during the movie. I'm trying not to
Excuse me.
get all choked up there, Brad.
This is
Oh
so
my
sad.
god, Patricia Arquette.
Oh, it's just so sad. I just really want to see the identical again. But what else is there really be to say here?
I don't...
Well, we were talking outside earlier about some of the more teenage waxing philosophical introspective.
Because it kind of gets into that more as he becomes a teenager, and you're right, that does make sense that happens when he becomes a teenager. But the first like 2 quarters of the movie, it's just kind of like a steady paced film about a kid growing up, and then it turns kind of into Before Sunset with 2 teenage idiots.
A little bit. I mean, it didn't bother me necessarily to the extent that maybe it did you. Maybe because I sort of expect that with
But
certain Richard Linklater
now
movies.
that I'm out of the theater,
Yeah.
it's not bothering me at all anymore. But there were a few minutes where
gotcha.
it's just like, I want this guy to shut the fuck up. I really do.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, and Richard Linklater for me is good at that, because that is certainly the kind of thing that when done wrong can make something really fucking unwatchable. Richard Linklater, when he's doing stuff like that with either this or Before Sunset and movies
Before
like that,
Sunrise and the other
yeah,
one.
and Slackers with
Slackers.
Cool Ethan.
Okay, so
Who's
I'm
that?
not.
That's
what,
cool,
what
Ethan.
we would call movie savvy. At least a way is not director savvy. So I said, David, what are some other things that Richard Linklater has directed? And halfway through the list, I'm like, Slackers, I love that movie. Cool, Ethan, right? And he's like, no.
You are.
Slacker. It's like the difference between Sleeper and Sleepers.
Many people have made both of those mistakes. By the way, I know that after I made that joke about Cool Ethan, somebody paused the video to write, "That's the wrong fucking movie, idiot." No, I know someone who made that mistake with Sleeper and Sleepers. It was Mike Rudolph's sister. Like, they were having a party, a teenage girl party, where they wanted to watch something funny. So, there's poor Erica. I heard Sleeper was really, really funny. Oops. Well, apparently Brad thinks child rape is hilarious.
Well, you do.
It's all about context, Dave. I thought it was gonna go in a weird direction when, like, sort of pedo boss was showing up every now and then in this movie.
Well, he seems kind of.
I've worked for dudes like
I've
that.
worked for guys like that.
Now
He's
that
just-
motherfucker never would have been invited to my house.
He thinks he's the wise old sage, but he works at, the
fucking, like, Fuddruckers.
Yeah.
I miss Fuddruckers.
Is Fuddruckers not a thing anymore?
It is, just not here.
Okay.
There used to be one.
In the mall.
No, there used to be one where.
No, the mall was Ruby Tuesday.
Yeah, the mall was Ruby Tuesday. Fuddruckers was what I think was before they put the Pasta House in.
Yes.
Or at least it was.
Yeah,
in
that was
same.
Fuddruckers.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, you can go over to my house and put together all the hamburgers you want.
Sweet.
You just have to bring
Sold.
your own hamburgers.
Oh, okay. I bought these burgers from McDonald's.
Just take the lids off. Yay!
I'm good at showing up with a bunch of burgers from McDonald's. Like when we were setting up for Brian's wedding. Brian, so hungry. I'll be right back. I'm like, 20 cheeseburgers.
There was
There
a
you
lot
go.
of cheeseburgers.
Yes. Jake showed up several hours later, like, dude, if you're hungry, man, we got cheeseburgers back there. Jake's like, I've already eaten like 3.
Oh, that was a really long weekend. I'm still tired from that fucking weekend.
Well, Brian had forgotten to eat for the last day and a half because he was too
Yeah.
busy fussing about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we get there and I'm eating a Slim Jim and he's like,
Yeah, I go like,
Brian
dude,
was a complete bridezilla.
total bridezilla. Yeah,
well,
like,
that wedding has set my personal. I'm like spoiled instantly because my cousin Tim's getting married and I'm like, do they have a bouncy castle?
Yeah, no shit.
Then fuck that wedding.
Is there a drunk Dave being the minister? No.
it's one of the greatest
By
weddings
the
I've
power
ever been
vested
to.
in me by the internet.
Did you see the comments on the wedding pictures that were put up?
No.
Okay, guys?
Oh yeah, everything's fine.
All right, we'll see you.
See ya, have a good one.
Yep, have a good night.
You too.
What were the comments?
That was the manager of the movie theater. Which I didn't peg him for a motorcycle rider.
Kudos to him.
Yeah, right. I didn't peg him for a motorcycle rider. He looks kind of like my 6th grade science teacher. What was I saying?
Wedding picture.
Oh! The wedding picture with the wedding party and everything that's got me and Jake in it. A lot of comments are like a mixture of, so that's what Letty looks like. And, oh my god, Brian got married? And then mostly about what Jake and I were wearing. So there's a lot of, Brad and Jake look like they're either about to start or stop a robbery.
Well, thank God there's no pictures of me the way I was dressed when I was cooking.
That was
Yeah, you just
awesome.
took off all but one of your shirts.
He looked like,
I was
looked like
wearing
The
a-
Sopranos.
I was wearing a suit, and as soon as I was the minister, so I was also the caterer.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was done with the ceremony, I had to go like start the grill.
So he was in a wife beater, the black pants, cigarette out the mouth, beer.
tattoos.
It looked like Dion and the Belmonts should have been playing in the background. You looked like Stephen Dorff from Deuces Wild. Like, 1960s mafia movie is just broken out. This is a fantastic wedding. I like the commenter who called Jake Tony Montana Norval.
Well, with the popped collar, man. I mean,
Yeah.
He found that suit at Salvo, and it fit him so nice that he decided to get a
Nice.
freaking arrow collar pink shirt to
Just
go with
pulling
it.
that off with mixture of that and the aviator's sunglasses. I looked like less than zero just got invited to the wedding and is on a 48-hour coke binge. Sorry, up this wedding fast. I gotta crash. It's noon. I know it's really late. You any final thoughts about?
It's an excellent movie, and I'm sure it's going to do very well award season, and it's going to deserve it, if nothing else, because they spent 12 fucking years making a movie. Mm-hmm. That's some serious dedication.
Serious dedication.
Like, we've quit movies after a month.
Oh, sure. Serious dedication, and the fact that it turned out, or
Good.
nothing bad happened behind the scenes, and that it also turned out good, because, oh man,
Yeah.
like, phew, that would have been, like...
Every time they got in a car towards the end, I started getting a little edgy. I was just like,
Yeah, the fact that it turned out to be a really good movie, because, like, otherwise it would have been like, dude, this is a sad story. Like, you spent 12 years making Think Like a Man 2? What were you thinking? So, I mean, I definitely recommend the movie. It's honestly been out for a while, and
Yeah.
it's just come to Springfield. Mm-hmm. It took longer than I thought it would to come to Springfield. I think it only came here, like, this week. But we get whatever freaking religious movie comes out, but we have to wait like 2 months for Boyhood to finally come to Springfield. Fucking Christ.
eh.
Yeah, this may be my ADD talking, but like, if you miss it in theaters, don't be upset, because I think it would benefit from an intermission.
It's long.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be a theater movie, but at the same time, I highly suggest going and spending the money on it, because movies like this deserve some box office.
This is true.
It does, and I would rather see a movie like this in the theater, because I would get distracted and maybe start doing something else or something like that. Given the movie's length and the structure of it and everything, I like being there where nothing else is going on and I'm watching it in one straight shot in one.
Yeah, a
in one
movie like this
screening.
at home, I'd be very tempted to like get up and like take a really long break, and then I'd probably be a little less like into the movie, you know.
I would too. I would get distracted by checking Facebook because I'm a robot.
So then the NSA is just gonna be able to scan your ghost.
NSA is
Pick a
gonna
roommate
scan my
for you.
ghost, man. What the fuck? Screw you, government. I did like when it was touching upon political stuff in the movie, because the movie, for the most part, did a pretty good job of being able to tell when this is, what year
Without
this
throwing
is.
it up on the date or anything, just by
Oh.
by
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
playing
soundtrack
Soldier
and-
Boy Run Tell 'em in the background, or like showing the Lady Gaga telephone music video.
Or the 2004 election, the 2008 election, war in 2003, and and all of that. There really wasn't. Maybe once or twice, maybe I was like, okay, is this the next day or is this a year later? That was kind of earlier on in the movie.
Yeah, I think as they hit the teenage years, they realized like, okay, every time we're switching a time period, we need a different haircut on this fucking kid.
There were a couple times where it took me a second.
Yeah.
Where it took, but that really only like 2 or 3 times. Other than that, like, they did a good job of it not getting very confusing and not having to put up like 2012 on the theater,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like inserting screenshots or like, here's a montage of current events from 2012. I liked when they were doing like the political stuff, like, yeah, in 2008 when they were putting like the political signs in the yard and taking down the McCain ones, and then there was the old angry white guy yelling at them. You think I'm gonna vote for that Barack Hussein Obama?
There's a Confederate flag on the back, because it's set in Texas, you know. So that guy exists in Texas. Or like when they went over to the next door lady's house and she's like, oh yeah, you know, I made my kids shirts that say Mama loves Obama.
Yeah.
Like, I would wear that shirt.
Yes. But yeah, I'd recommend seeing it in the theater, certainly. So yeah, good movie. It's it's a movie that's been out for a while, and yes, it's really good. Right now, reviews have been up for it for months.
But yes. I
don't
wish
know if
I
I'd watch
forgot
it
to
again.
write down the previews on my arm this time.
I might
Oh.
be interested in watching again, but it's gonna be a while before I'm in the. It's a long sit, and it's a, you know, it's. I think it's more interesting for its achievements than it really is as a movie, but it's a good movie.
The only trailer that's worth, I can't remember what 90% of the trailers we got in front of it, except the one that I'm the most excited to see, Birdman.
Birdman, that trailer was amazing.
That's the first time I've seen that trailer.
Really? Oh my god, I can't wait for
At
Birdman.
first I was like, this looks kind of boring. What the fuck?
Birdman looks so good. It's the closest I'm gonna get to my Michael Keaton Batman 3.
Where Batman goes ape shit crazy.
Yes! And he's even doing like his Batman voice like in the narration and stuff like that. Oh my god, I can't wait for Birdman. That looks like Michael Keaton at his batshit best.
Well, plus he's such a good actor, you know.
Oh yeah, I will see the movie in and of itself looks fantastic, but I will see the worst fucking thing if it's got Michael Keaton in it. I saw Herbie Fully Loaded because Michael Keaton was in it. There was some movie where he played like the president of the United States, and it was one of those. There were like 8 movies around this time that have the same plot, where it was like the president's got a daughter and she's a teenager and wants to start dating. It was what the fuck, First Daughter? What
It's
I can't.
funny to me because I'm not way about Colin Firth, and he was in a movie like that with Amanda Barnes that I watched part of.
Yeah,
Because
that's the other
Colin
movie I'm
fucking
thinking
Firth.
of. Yeah, I can't fucking remember. One of them had, I think, Katie Holmes in it. Or there was one where, yeah, Michael Keaton was the president of the United States, and I watched it just because of that. Son of a bitch.
The one that I
I'll
was
watch
excited.
anything with Sam Rockwell just to see if he
Oh,
dances
that was
or
a
not.
trailer we got.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that was the one that was Keira Knightley
Yeah.
staying at a grade school girl's house because reasons. It was called like Laggers or something.
Yeah, Laggers.
And yeah, Sam Rockwell showed up, so I guess I'd watch it. But
As soon as Sam Rockwell showed up in the trailer, I was like, okay, well, I'm watching this.
Yeah, well, it'll
Done.
probably be good because Sam Rockwell doesn't make very many bad movies.
Not very many. It showed everyone else in that trailer dancing except for Sam Rockwell.
know.
So that has me worried.
He'll dance.
he'll dance. I'm sure he'll dance.
It'll just even if it's like a sidestep while he's cooking dinner or something.
Yeah, he managed to find a way to dance in The Sitter, so...
The one that I was excited about was the Simon Pegg one.
The Pursuit of Happiness.
No,
No,
like
it's not.
the
Like Simon Pegg's character's name.
Hector and something happiness.
Yeah, Hector: The Pursuit of Happiness.
Something
Something like that. He plays
Yeah.
like a psychologist who's like chafing in his relationship, so he decides he's gonna take a sabbatical and figure out what happiness is. And
Yeah, it looked like Walter Mitty without a lot of the daydreams.
well, it looked funny too because
it
like
looks
it had a
good.
couple jokes in it, just in the preview.
I'm going to China. Dog. Huh? Someone dropped a pan.
I wish I had a penis.
Oh, happiness? Oh, yes. I want happiness.
Everyone wants a penis, but
That's-
you have to earn it. Yes, they're elusive.
That's such a stupid joke.
I laughed.
I did too. I mean, I laughed at the pan thing too.
Yeah. and we got Interstellar.
That looks
McConaughey
good.
in space.
Space McConaughey, sold.
That movie looks like a stone cold bummer, but I'll probably still see it.
Yeah.
Space McConaughey directed by Nolan. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fucking bummer.
Well, because like you,
Name me one happy Christopher Nolan movie.
it only looks like it slightly from the preview, but it kind of seems like he's gonna be in space for the entirety of his daughter's natural life.
Yeah, he's making up for not going into space in Contact.
She fucking
God, really? You don't remember Contact with Jodie Foster and there's aliens?
I hear Matthew McConaughey didn't go to space in it.
I don't think he did. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I remember spoiler. I remember isn't that the one where they go up to space and like the alien is her dad?
yeah.
Or like he's not that he took on the form of her dad or something.
Who was her dad in it?
Wasn't it Tom Skerritt?
I think it was.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in a while. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I think that's most of the trailers. I can't remember.
Those are the ones that matter.
Yeah, there was the one that was Angelina Jolie directed, where it was the guy who won the Olympics and then was a prisoner of war, and they're making him pick stuff up and punching him in the face.
That looks like it might be.
It also looks like a stone cold bummer.
Yeah, it looks like Angelina Jolie is here to ruin your Christmas. It opens on Christmas. It really looked.
It looked brilliant. It just looked like a stone cold
With
bummer.
every ticket, you get an African child.
Now, what am I gonna do with this? Here, Jake, take care of this. I'll do it,
I'm
dude.
swarming
Give
with
the
them like
African
bending.
children to Brian.
Oh.
You'll find them homes.
Put the pigeon head on. You're gonna tie that now.
What? Brian's the slaver and he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Oh, that was. Oh, yeah. Somebody on the That Guy's Secrets page wrote a congratulations thing to Brian and Letty for getting married, and of course it said Brian Lewis, aka Slaver Brian.
I wish there were actual wedding announcements that said that.
He's gonna be so mad at us.
And their wedding photos, like if going by the website was the thing, it would be Brian sitting in this car with his arm around, like back here, and Letty hiding behind the car seats. Just see the top of a veil poofing up over.
I've got a double feature tomorrow. I'll be back with Maze Runner and Walk Among the Tombstones. They're right back to back, so Brian and I are gonna have to leave one movie and go right into the other when the trailers will most likely be playing.
That's gonna be a fun evening.
Yeah.
It'll be whatever. The last double feature I was at was the identical and When the Game Stands Tall, so I'm cool with this
I
one.
never asked, did the game actually stand tall?
You know all that shit that was in the trailer with Caviezel having a heart attack, dude getting shot and killed, among other terrible things that are happening in the trailer? Yeah, all that stuff happens before they lose.
Oh!
So basically, this movie is about God betting on the other team and fucking wanting this team to lose.
Well, you know.
Yep. You know.
Yep.
The movie out-introspected us. We've got nothing philosophical to say.
Yeah.
Well, you see, football is kind of... I got nothing.
Well, you see, football is a lot like Matthew 25, verse 4.
Well, I'm getting out of the
All the Jesus lines are in red.
fucking
Later.